Hi, welcome or welcome back to my decorating series. We're going to go inside and go to the 13th floor and start with a withdrawing room. So we finally made it to the primary suite, and I'm both excited and nervous. So I've decided to go ahead and kind of go with personal style for this. Not that the other floors and other rooms haven't been a lot of my own personal style, but there's so many directions you could take the bedrooms and sitting room and withdrawing room and whatever rooms you consider to be your primary suite in your house. And I figure at some point I might, get some of the other buildings and take them in very different directions than what I personally like. But I figured I'd really just lean into the things that I like. So yes, you're going to see repeated objects, repeated styles, repeated kind of ideas potentially, because I needed to pick a direction. And so I figured I'll just really lean into what I enjoy. I enjoy plants. I enjoy green. I enjoy boho. I enjoy, kind of things that are pieced together that might be very contrasting in other people's viewpoints. But, why not, Like, it's my build. It's my game, so I can take it whatever direction I want. And I tend to overthink things, so I tend to struggle with committing to an idea. So I'm like, well, if it were me, what would I pick? And I've been dying to use this green wallpaper since we got it. So even though I auditioned things right at the beginning, I kind of knew that I wanted it in at least one room, and I felt like this room made sense for it. I also really wanted to try and use some of our newest objects and newest pieces. So those lights that go in the wall, they're recessed, that came from the Inside Out stuff. I really wanted to try and do something interesting with them. And so, yes, the curtains are something I've done in other spaces quite frequently, actually. But I wanted something to kind of go in front of the lights to kind of make the lights look like they were hung on the wall behind. So you can't really tell that they are recessed. And I like that. I like that they kind of just look like they're hung on the wall. And now I'm trying to figure out spacing and trying to figure out like more layers that I could do. And when I put these trees down and kind of looked in front of it, I really liked the effect. It looked like almost a forest with lights behind it. And so I just kind of went with that and decided the whole wall needed to be it. And now I want to make a little cozy sitting spot. It doesn't have to be super complicated. Since this is the primary suite, this is really not a guest space. There would really only ever be maybe the family in here and potentially just the adults of the household. So I didn't need it to be elaborate with tons of seating and table space and stuff like that, but cozy enough. And I hadn't had a chance to use this fireplace yet. And because it's kind of fairy-like, kind of mushroom-like, I figured that's something I would pick. If I personally were looking at the objects that were available and had to pick a fireplace, that would be the one that I would want. So every time there's a choice like that to be made, I go, okay, if it were me, what would I be doing? As opposed to what actually goes the best together. Now, I do try to make sure things go together, but it is really what would I choose. So now I'm trying to decide spacing because I did change the dimensions of the room. And I decided to line both walls for the side rooms with this kind of tree curtain light situation. And now I'm just trying to figure out spacing, figure out which lights I like the best, and try and make it look even and full. And it was a little bit of a struggle at first because of the dimension change of the room. So now I'm like, oh, I need to use the full curtains instead of the side curtains just to make sure that it looks, full. Because I'm not really going to do much else on the sides of the room. That is the whole decoration. I do kind of wish I put something above the doors, but I really couldn't figure out anything that I liked enough. So I end up leaving them empty. And I did want to put some rugs in here, but I don't mind the fact that there's some open wood floor as well. While the sitting area needs to be cozy, I don't think that like it needs to feel lush and carpeted in here. I feel like that's more appropriate for the bedroom. And we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a couple of weeks. But this is something that I do end up liking, this firefly thing. Like I really crammed some fireflies, and I get down and I look at it, and it does feel very magical. I end up taking them out because having them down while I'm still decorating makes everything really tricky to manipulate around and grab. So as you see, it's slowly going away because as I try and adjust where things are, the fireflies keep being in the way. And I never put them back in, and I kind of feel like I might want to at some point, just because even though I don't know if if they could be stationary, like if you could kind of freeze them and just have them be glowing or like kind of move less, I feel like it might be, I don't know, closer to the vibe that I want, but they really don't function that way, and they're not really meant to. They're kind of meant to be outside, but I don't know, there was something magical about having like all of these little like firefly lights in the upper region of the room space that I really enjoyed, but I didn't end up putting them back in, and I still think I kind of regret it. And so now I'm trying to look around and see like the spacing of things, whether or not I feel like I need some tables. I think I only end up putting one table in here just because it's meant for like maybe a couple people at the most, maybe the family if like, you know, the kids or somebody hung out, or like a close friend or something. But this is really meant to be a space for the adults of the house to just retire before the end of the night, or wake up and just have a place to be quiet by themselves, you know, little fire, little tea, maybe a book, but nothing too complicated. And you know, it doesn't need a lot to make it feel cozy. So although I spend some time here looking for things to go on the walls, maybe some other decorative pieces, maybe things to segment out parts of the room, I really end up not committing to a lot of those. I just feel like I needed to audition them just to see if it felt right, and most of it ends up not being something that I like. Either it takes up too much space, or it just, you know, feels like it's too much. And there are some pretty big empty spaces on the wall in the end, but like I tried these plants more than once because I liked the idea of having plants all over the wall, but they disappeared because of the wallpaper print. So ends up being really simple in the end. All right, well, let's go inside and check it out. I'm really excited to be to the 13th floor. As much as I'm kind of nervous about putting like myself in the shoes more than I have in other spaces, I know there's a lot of stuff in this game that I really like, but my problem is I tend to go maximalist, and I know that's not everybody's vibe, but they're some of my favorite spaces to put together. So although I do put a lot of stuff in this room, I still feel like it's relatively simple. People probably won't agree with that because it still does feel like there's a lot of stuff. But those windows, this wallpaper, the lights, this feels earthy to me. It feels magical to me. It feels just, you know, not everything in this room is something that I might seek out in real life, but if I had to go shopping in just the objects in this game, I could definitely see getting the stuff that's in this room for myself. So it's fun to kind of really insert myself in the process. I've inserted myself in the process, obviously, because I'm the one doing the decorating in all of the other spaces. But sometimes it's okay, I want to experiment with these particular objects or with these particular color palettes or with this kind of room that I may not have in real life. but I would definitely love it if I could have, you know, lots of flowers and plants and sparkly lights and just unique fairy-like objects if I could live in Fantasyland. So that's what we're doing on this floor, and I'm excited to get to the rest of it because it's been a long time coming, and we're here now. That's it for today's decorating adventure. If you liked this video, a thumbs up is a great way to let me know, and a subscription will keep you up to date on my latest shenanigans. If you want to hang out with me live, I stream on YouTube and Twitch on Thursday evenings and middays on Sunday. I hope you have a lovely day, night, time, wherever you are, whenever you are, and I'll see you next time.